Welcome back, everybody. It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. So I'm going to go over what I believe to be the optimal draft strategy if you have the last pick in your fantasy draft. For the purposes of this video, I'm assuming you're in a 12-team league, so this assumes you've got the 12 selection. Then, of course, we're assuming this is a snake draft as well. So I'm pulling all the ADPs just based off of the underdog ADPs. We'll have to revisit this and stuff, obviously, as we get deeper and deeper into the draft season. We will have some more educated and accurate ADPs. But underdog's a good thing to go off of right now. It should be relatively close to what we actually end up seeing in home leagues, and really fun making these videos. Really fun just sort of seeing what sort of different builds we can work on, especially based off of where we're picking. And it's been really cool to see that you really can build a really good team regardless of where you're drafting, so long as you go into the draft prepared. And hopefully this helps you do that. So if you guys haven't seen the other videos, I highly recommend you guys do go watch those as well. Those are super fun to make. And if you guys haven't seen, or if you guys are picking from a different spot, I highly recommend you go take advantage of those videos as well. So yeah, let's just get into the first round here. So starting things off with rounds 1 and 2, I actually love it if you can just get the guys based off of ADP here. Go in at picks 12 and 13 respectively by ADP. You'd be taking Jahmyr Gibbs and Marvin Harrison, and that's exactly what I would want to do if I could be doing that. If Jahmyr Gibbs is gone, I'd probably just be looking to take the two best wide receivers on the board. If Marvin Harrison's gone, I still think I'd just be taking Gibbs and the next best wide receiver. So really not a whole lot of decisions to make other than just what you like in terms of who your favorite receivers on the board are. I don't really love Jonathan Taylor this year. I don't think he's got much of a ceiling, just in terms of as a guy that I don't think can really finish as like the number one back on the season, and I don't see that ceiling for him. So he's not a guy that I want to reach on, and picking him at pick 13 is just a little bit too early for me. So I wouldn't really even entertain that option. Next up in rounds 3 and 4, if we were just to be going by ADP here, you would be drafting Josh Allen and Sam Laporta at the 3-4 turn, and I just can't advise that we take two onesie positions in the first 4 rounds. It's going to make your wide receiver or running back room really thin, and it's not something that I want to recommend. And I also really don't want to go into round 5 having 0 running backs. You're really putting yourself at risk there. There aren't a ton of really high-end options at that point. So if you have 0 running backs at this point, say Jahmyr Gibbs is gone in round 1, I would certainly recommend taking a reach and just taking Isaiah Pacheco or Travis Etienne. Really great options. I've got no problem taking them at the 3-4 turn. And then other than that, I think I would just be taking the best player on the board. Josh Allen is honestly probably the guy that I'd be picking. So in the scenario where you went wide receiver early on, you're probably looking at taking Pacheco or Etienne, and then Josh Allen or whatever else, whatever other player you want. If you want to go Jalen Hurts, if you want to go Sam Laporta, if you want to go Travis Kelce, you could do that. And then if you happen to have Jahmyr Gibbs already, things do get a little bit more open. I think you can either take one of those top 2 running backs that are left, or you can take a look at whatever the best wide receiver on the board is. You'd be looking at something like Tank Dell, Zay Flowers, maybe DJ Moore, Stephon Diggs, one of those kinds of guys, and then also taking another quarterback here. Next up in rounds 5 and 6, I really do want to get my running back 2 in rounds 5 and 6 here. I don't want to be waiting beyond that because I do think the caliber of running back that you're getting there drops off quite a bit. But I also really do like the value of some of the guys here, so I don't really want to have forced myself to take an extra running back early on because I want to be capitalizing on the values that are shown here. So guys like James Cook, Rachaad White, Joe Mixon, really solid options you can get. You could throw Alvin Kamara into the mix there. I'd probably be looking to take one of those guys at this turn, and then outside of that, none of the wide receivers really get me super excited here. I'd probably just be looking to either take my quarterback or even take a third running back. I wouldn't be taking a 4th running back this early in the draft. So if you already have 2 going into this, if you take James Cook or Rachaad White or something, I think you can take a look at the wide receiver position. Ladd McConkey, Deontay Johnson, maybe even Rashee Rice. Those are decent options. I'm not mentioning any tight ends here because it just looks like all of them are going to be gone at this point, at least all of the top tier guys. Dalton Kincaid's going to go about 8 picks before you here. So if he slips, obviously, or if one of those other top tier tight ends slips, I'd absolutely be taking them. But if they don't, I wouldn't want to reach on a guy like Evan Ingram or David Njoku just yet. Next in rounds 7 and 8, if you still don't have a tight end here, I would highly recommend snagging the best one available. I think guys like Jake Ferguson, Evan Ingram, David Njoku, those are probably the end of the tiers, or at the end of the tier in terms of tight ends that are going to be super involved in their offense. I think Jake Ferguson's a little bit of a tier below those guys, but I think he's also a huge step up over everybody that's being drafted behind him. So I think he'd be a guy that I'd be certainly willing to take at the 7-8 turn here. You're looking at really just having to stream the tight end position if you end round 8 without one. So I think I'd be looking to do that. Sort of the same thing for quarterback as well. If you need a quarterback, I think it's really smart to just grab one here in round 8 or at the end of round 7. There are 22 picks in between your selections here and then your next ones, and all of those top tier quarterbacks, like the high end guys, are probably going to be gone at this point. In all these videos, I've sort of mentioned that I'm really trying to grab a guy like Jordan Love, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, or Joe Burrow. I think those are like the 4 guys that I'm really targeting, and I don't think you're going to be able to get one of those 4 if you don't end up taking at least one of them in this round. So if you do wait till rounds 9 and 10, maybe you get lucky. You can play your league, see what's happening. If a bunch of people don't have quarterbacks, then maybe you could take a gamble on that. But it's just a lot of risk to take because if you end up streaming the position, you might be beating yourself up. Other than that, there's a lot of really good options. Actually, I don't mind taking running back or wide receiver here. At running back, there are really great options like Zach Moss, Jalen Warren, Raheem Mostert, Jonathan Brooks, Najee Harris. At wide receiver, there's some great options as well. Jameson Williams is a fun flyer. Curtis Samuel's a really great option. Keon Coleman's a really great option as well. So I don't really think you can go wrong here. I would certainly prioritize tight end and quarterback because it's based off of where you were picking in this draft. You're probably not going around 7 and 8 with both of those positions locked up. Maybe you've got one of them at that 3-4 turn, or maybe you grabbed one at the end of round 5 and 6. But I think you're probably looking to make sure that you want to get those two positions locked down in this round. And then beyond that, from rounds 9 and on, it's all about upside for me. I've sort of said this in all of these videos, but when you get to the point where you're drafting bench players, guys that you're not necessarily planning on relying on, you really just want to swing for the fences there, grab guys that are going to give you a significant leg up over your entire league if they hit. Because if you get a guy that you draft in round 10 and he ends up being a low-end flex play, like, that's cool, that's nice, but you're not really changing how your team looks over the course of the season. It's not going to do a whole lot for you over the course of 14 weeks plus those playoffs. So what you really do want is you want to find those guys that are going to be home runs, and if you hit or miss, whatever, you can just move on, pick up guys off waivers. It's going to be super easy to do that, especially early on in the season. I also want to highly recommend that you guys do effectively ignore ADP at this point in the draft. You should be paying a lot less attention to it when you're drafting at the turn anyway, because there are 22 picks between your selections. So you want to make sure you're getting your guys. You can't really play the ADP game and just sort of hope guys come back around to you because there's just way too many picks between your picks for that to happen. Another thing I'll highlight is that the odds of getting a really great tight end and a quarterback seem kind of low based off of this spot. You'd have to reach once or twice to get a good quarterback and a good tight end. So I would make it at least an option to you guys that you guys would consider potentially double dipping at whatever position. If you wait on quarterback, then maybe go Jaden Daniels and Jared Goff. If you wait on tight end, maybe go Dalton Schultz and Jonnu Smith or something. Just double dip, give yourself a couple shots at having some upside, because if you don't have a top tier guy, you're going to end up streaming the position, and that's fine. But if you want to give yourself an early shot at someone that could actually be like a season long starter for you, it makes a lot of sense to double dip at those positions early on here. So that'll do it for the draft strategy series. If you guys have any comments or anything you guys want any additional questions on, feel free to let me know in the comments. It's a lot of fun interacting with you guys there. Hopefully you guys found these helpful. Like I said, I did it for 5 different draft slots. So if you guys have any questions, or if you aren't picking from pick 12, highly recommend you guys go watch the other videos as well. They should be super helpful. Up next, I'll be going over some auction draft strategies, things that I like to employ, and sort of different ways you can go into auction drafts approaching it. So that's a lot of fun for me. I personally love auction drafts. I know you guys do too. So hopefully you guys find that video super exciting, and then we'll probably get into some more mock drafts. We'll get into some ADP comparisons by platform, some really great values, breakouts, busts, do more and more mock drafts, more draft strategy, a lot of more stuff coming, and we're just really getting excited about it. We're in mid-July here. We're about a month and a half away from real NFL football, and it's super exciting. So appreciate you guys. If you guys made it this far, please do give the video a thumbs up. It really helps with the algorithm. If you guys want to make sure you get access to each of the 4 videos a week we're going to put out the rest of the off season, if not more, just make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It's going to be all free, and that can help you win your fantasy championship this season. So yeah, thanks guys, and I'll catch you with the next one. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.